confirmation that these 5 players of the Iranian women's soccer team have been granted humanitarian visas. The footballers have been, of course, facing the risk of being persecuted, going back to Iran after not singing the national anthem so bravely before their match against South Korea. Now, a key person involved in this, the President of the United States. He, of course, posted on Truth Social, Australia is making a terrible humanitarian mistake by allowing the Iran national women's soccer team to be forced back to Iran, where they will most likely be killed. Don't do it, Mr. Prime Minister. Give them asylum. The US will take them if you won't. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then he gets on the phone to Anthony Albanese. And what do you know, a few hours later, we get an outcome, James?
Well, yeah, it's sort of like the thing about Anthony Albanese is he's sort of like what Winston Churchill said about the Americans. He can be counted on to do the right thing after all other options have been exhausted. Now, this is the thing. I mean, Albo didn't really seem to want to get too involved with this. Tony Burke certainly didn't want to get involved in this, and he's been dragged into this. And I mean, he looked almost like he was kind of doing a hostage photo when he was there, sort of smiling with the Iranian women, because you know that this is going to cause some other troubles with him and some of his other constituencies that might, shall we say, be a little bit more pro-Iranian, and we've seen some of that coming out in the last week or so. Look, this is great news. It's an amazing story. To me, it reminds me so much of the Petrov affair in 1947, when a pair of Soviet diplomats, actually they were KGB spies, defected here in Australia. Robert Menzies was prime minister. The husband made a clean getaway, but the KGB tried to bundle the wife back to the Soviet Union. Now, he had ASIO agents basically get on the plane at Darwin when it stopped to refuel and take her off and get her off the plane and save her from the clutches of the KGB. Feels very much like the same sort of thing, except I don't think we could compare Anthony Albanese to Robert Menzies.
Don't think so either, but it's interesting you make the point about Tony Burke. Know, being dragged into this, because we heard Matt Thistlethwaite just on Sunday saying, essentially saying that they won't be offered asylum, and then a few days later they've suddenly been apparently working around the clock to make sure that they were.
Yeah, it's really interesting
asylum.
Because I mean, this blows up all of the contradictions on the left here. I mean, like, I want to do a welfare check on Grace Tame. How is she going with this here? Why would these women, these feminist women want to be in Australia when Iran is out there globalizing the Intifada, which is just what she wants to happen? So, look, there's so many hypocrisies on the left. I think it's a great human story. It's a fantastic story for freedom. I hope that something can happen with the other young women on this team here, because I don't want to see anybody going back. But the biggest thing that we have to hope for is that the regime actually does fall, it does change, and that you do get a free Iran so that they can go back and be with their families or stay here if they want to. And we can all go to Iran if we want to one day.
I know no one has a crystal ball, but what's your assessment? Do you think this regime could fall in just a few weeks?
Look, the IRGC, so it's really complicated. The way Iran is governed, it's sort of 2 or 3 different big power structures. There's something called the Ardesh, which is the sort of the National Defense Force. It is not political. It's not theocratic. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, that's where power seems to be held. Now, this new Ayatollah that they've got, Mojtaba, the son of Khamenei, apparently he's been very badly injured already in an airstrike. I've heard potentially that he's lost a leg. He may not even know that he has been nominated the new Ayatollah in, the great reality show, Iran's Next Top Cleric. So we don't know what's going to happen with him. Look, Trump seems very serious about not just saying we are degrading the weapons, because what he said the other day was very important. He said we can't be going back there every 5 or 10 years. There has to be some sort of permanent change, whether that's a transitional authority under the Shah, whether it's something else. But one thing I would say is that look for the Ardesh, which is the non-theological, non-politicized state sort of police and army to play a big role in that. The big challenge, of course, will also be, de-Baathification was the big thing that they screwed up after Iraq. So what do you do with all the people who were involved with the IRGC? You need to have some sort of program. Again, you go back to history, and I know I always go back to history, but it's important. Like, do what they did with the denazification program in Germany. How do you make sure that the people who were involved with the really bad stuff don't get in power, but the people who are there who are involved with just keeping the country running do have a role, and that's a really critical thing.